Have you ever walked away from a conversation and thought, wait, why did I just agree to that? Or maybe you felt guilty, confused, or pressured without even knowing how it happened?
Yeah, it's actually a universally frustrating experience. And it usually happens because, well, we're completely blind to these really subtle, almost invisible tactics happening right in front of us.
Right, because people use these conversational traps like every single day to get what they want.
Exactly. And these behaviors are often so smoothly woven into normal dialogue
Yeah.
that, you don't even realize you've been cornered until the conversation's already over.
And that feeling of being cornered, that is exactly what we are unpacking today in this deep dive. We are learning the everyday English vocabulary of psychological manipulation, just breaking down the specific language and behaviors people use.
Though, um, I think we should set a clear baseline for this conversation right up front. The goal here is absolutely not to make anyone paranoid.
Right, we're not trying to make you suspicious of everyone.
No, not at all. We are not asking you to leave this discussion side-eyeing your friends, your family, or your coworkers. This is really just a self-awareness guide. It's about spotting patterns that might be, draining your energy or dictating your choices.
Because there really is a very fine line between harmless persuasion and active manipulation. I mean, persuasion is just someone presenting a good argument or trying to share their perspective.
Yeah, persuasion is healthy, but manipulation is entirely different. It is an intentional design to bypass your logic and directly influence your emotions, your boundaries, and sometimes even your sense of reality.
So today, we are diving into 8 very common tricks people use, what they look like in action, and exactly how to protect yourself.
And the most logical place to start is probably with the path of least resistance. If someone wants to control your behavior, the absolute easiest way to do that is to hijack your empathy.
Oh, wow. Attack the empathy.
Yeah, because manipulators know that most people are, inherently decent. We want to be helpful. So they weaponize that decency.
Which perfectly describes our first tactic, guilt tripping. This is a trap where you try to set a perfectly reasonable boundary. Maybe you just say no to a favor because you're exhausted.
Right, a normal boundary.
Yeah. And the other person instantly twists the narrative to make you feel selfish or rude or just totally ungrateful.
They're essentially punishing you emotionally for having a boundary. So let's say a coworker asks you to stay late to finish their project. You say, I can't tonight, I have family plans.
Which is totally fair.
Completely fair. But a guilt trip sounds like, oh, sure, I get it. I guess I'll just stay here until midnight. I probably didn't need to see my kids tonight anyway.
Ugh, that is such a heavy burden to throw on someone. It's classic misdirection, like a,
Hmm?
sleight of hand and a magic trick.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. They redirect your attention toward your own sudden feeling of guilt so you completely forget to look at the real issue.
Exactly. You forget that they're the ones crossing a professional line.
They make you the villain of the story so you'll overcompensate and do whatever they want. But so how do we stop the trick? Like in the heat of that moment when your stomach drops and you feel like a terrible person, how do you snap out of it?
You have to force a pause, really.
Oh,
Engage your logical brain and ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong here, or am I just being pressured to feel wrong?
that's a huge distinction.
It is. A healthy request from a healthy person always leaves room for a no. If someone is punishing you for declining, well, they didn't really ask you for a favor. They made a demand and disguised it as a question.
A demand disguised as a question. I like that. And that leads right into another phrase that relies on hijacking our empathy, which is playing the victim. We see this all the
I
time.
hear constantly.
It's when someone refuses to take responsibility for their actions and instead flips the script so they always look like the injured party, like in every single conflict.
Even when they were the ones who started it. You confront someone about something hurtful they did to you, and somehow, 10 minutes later, you are the one apologizing because they are crying about how hard their life is right now. They just absorb all the oxygen in the room.
But wait, this is where it gets really murky for me. Because we want to be compassionate people, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people genuinely are going through a hard time. How can you tell if someone is genuinely hurt versus just playing the victim to force you to back off?
It is a tough balance. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
But the differentiator is the pattern. A genuine victim might lash out or be hurt in a specific isolated instance, and later, they will apologize and take ownership.
Right. They actually take responsibility eventually.
Yes. But a manipulator plays this role every single time they are confronted. If a conversation about their bad behavior consistently ends with you comforting them, you're dealing with manufactured victim.
So you have to look at the patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You must remember that accountability matters more than sympathy in those moments.
Right. You cannot let sympathy become a get-out-of-jail-free card for toxic behavior.
No, you really can't. And once a manipulator knows they can effortlessly bypass your logic and play with your emotions like that, they usually don't stop there. The next step is often um, much more invasive.
What do you mean?
Well, they might try to mess with your actual perception of reality and trust.
That is a chilling thought. But it happens so often, especially in new relationships. So let's look at the tactic of love bombing. This is when someone showers you with intense attention, extravagant gifts, constant texts, and just overwhelming affection extremely early on.
Right, they might tell you that you were their soulmate after just 2 weeks.
Wait, hold on, though. Isn't that just someone being really nice and romantic? I mean, it sounds like a great first few dates.
It creates a massive surge of dopamine, for sure. It feels intoxicating, like you are starring in your own romantic comedy. But the psychology behind love bombing is fascinating because, well, it isn't actually about love at all.
Wait, really?
No. Real love requires knowing a person deeply, and that takes time. Love bombing is more like an investment strategy. The manipulator is depositing massive amounts of fake goodwill into your emotional bank account. It's not about romance. It's about fast-tracking trust so they can influence you later.
Oh, wow. So they are building this idealized version of themselves in your mind.
Precisely. Because eventually the mask is going to slip. They will start making unreasonable demands or acting controlling. But because you have this intense memory of how perfect they were in the beginning, you will excuse the bad behavior.
You'll think, oh, they're just stressed out. I know who they really are underneath.
Right. You become loyal to an illusion.
So the solution here isn't to reject all romance, but to slow things down. You have to ask yourself, do they really know me well enough to feel that strongly, or are they rushing the attachment? Real connection takes time.
Yeah, a slow burn is sustainable. Explosions just leave damage. And, if love bombing is about building a false reality to gain your trust, the flip side of that is a tactic designed to destroy your trust in yourself.
Ah, right, gaslighting.
Yes. This is arguably one of the most destructive tricks on our list. Gaslighting is where someone makes you doubt your own memory, your own judgment, or your sanity.
Like, they will completely deny a conversation ever happened. You'll say, you promised you would pay me back today. And they will look you dead in the eye and say, I never said that. You are imagining things.
Or they will use phrases like, you are way too sensitive, or you always blow things out of proportion. Over time, you start questioning yourself instead of them.
It's kind of like someone secretly sneaking into your house, changing all the clocks by 20 minutes, and then calling you crazy for always being late.
That is exactly what it feels like.
They actively sabotage the environment and then penalize you for your reaction. So how do you fight back against that?
You have to trust your physical records, your memory, and your instincts.
Yeah.
You cannot debate reality with a gaslighter because they will just twist your words. Write things down after important conversations if you have to. Healthy people can disagree without rewriting your reality.
That is a stark difference to keep in mind. Now, we're going to pivot to another set of tactics in just a second, but first, if you've been enjoying listening to this, consider subscribing.
So we've looked at how manipulators hijack your empathy and distort your reality. But what happens if you aren't easily swayed by guilt trips or gaslighting?
Right. What if you're pretty grounded?
Well, then they have to change their approach. If they can't distort the facts, they will try to force you into a quick decision so you don't have time to think. They threw you into the pressure cooker.
Ah, creating urgency, telling you that you must decide right now or miss out forever.
Exactly. The strategy is to induce panic, because panic makes people less logical.
But wait, what if it's a real opportunity? Like sometimes the clock is actually ticking, right?
Absolutely, real deadlines exist. But a legitimate opportunity can usually survive a little time for reflection. If you tell someone, I need 24 hours to sleep on this, their reaction tells you everything.
Right. If they respect the pause, it's probably real.
Yes, but if they refuse to give you space to think or threaten to pull the offer entirely, that refusal is a huge warning sign. Never let pressure rush your judgment.
That's a great rule. Never let pressure rush your judgment. And another way they compress the timeline is through social pressure. The classic, everyone else is doing it, manipulation.
Right, because humans naturally want to fit in and avoid being left out. It targets our evolutionary biology.
Because thousands of years ago, if you were isolated from your tribe, you wouldn't survive, right?
Exactly. When a manipulator isolates you and points out that you are standing alone, your brain registers that as a threat.
So the solution there is just to remember that popular doesn't always mean right. You should make choices based on your values, not on a fear of rejection.
Perfectly said. You have to anchor yourself internally.
So we've covered the loud, fast, high-pressure tactics, but not all manipulation is loud or fast.
No, sometimes it's quiet, subtle, and constantly shifting. This introduces us to passive aggression.
Oh, passive aggression. The absolute worst. It's manipulation hiding behind sarcasm, backhanded compliments, or, jokes that sting.
Right, they try to make you feel small or guilty while pretending they were just kidding. It gives them plausible deniability.
So if you get angry, you look like the crazy one, but if you ignore it, you just swallow the insult. How do you deal with that?
Don't ignore the discomfort. You are allowed to call out disrespectful behavior, even if it was delivered with a smile. Just politely but firmly bring the underlying aggression into the light. Name the behavior.
Name it to tame it. I love that. Don't let them hide behind. I was just joking. And the final tactic we need to uncover is another subtle one, moving the goalpost.
Yes, moving the goalpost happens when you do exactly what was asked of you, but suddenly it's not enough and the rules change.
It's like playing a video game where the finish line keeps moving further away right as you are about to cross it.
That's exactly it.
You just keep chasing an approval that never actually comes. Yeah.
Right, and it keeps you perpetually off balance. Healthy relationships have clarity. You have to notice when the rules keep changing and ask yourself if this person is building trust or just keeping you under control.
Okay, so that brings everything into focus. We've learned the vocabulary for these 8 tricks. But now that we know the words for these tactics, how do we actually protect ourselves on a daily basis?
It boils down to a core defense strategy consisting of 4 actionable steps.
Okay, what's step 1?
Step 1 is to slow down. As we've seen, most manipulation relies on you reacting quickly.
Right, inserting a gap between their request and your response.
Exactly. Buy yourself some time.
Yeah,
Step 2 is to trust patterns.
because one strange moment is an accident, right?
Yeah, anyone can have a bad day, but repeated behavior, that is data. Trust that data.
Okay, so slow down, trust patterns. What's step 3?
Practice boundaries. You have to fundamentally accept that you do not owe everyone instant access, agreement, or emotional energy.
And step 4?
Protect your peace. Pay attention to how people make you feel.
Oh, that's a good one, because your body often knows before your brain does.
Exactly. If you constantly feel confused, pressured, guilty, or drained around someone, those are incredibly important somatic signals. Listen to them.
Slow down. Trust patterns. Practice boundaries and protect your peace. When you break it down like that, you really can navigate these interactions without feeling helpless.
You really can. And as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with a powerful reframe to think about.
What is it?
Being kind does not mean being easy to manipulate. Being trusting does not mean ignoring red flags. And being open-hearted does not mean allowing people to rewrite your reality. The more aware you become, the harder it is for people to use you against yourself.
That is so true. Your awareness is your shield. And, it makes you wonder now that we know exactly how these tactics work, like creating false urgency and love bombing us with dopamine. Are the biggest manipulators in our lives actually the people around us, or are they the algorithms and devices sitting in our pockets right now? That is something to sit with. So, listeners, did any of these psychological tricks sound familiar to you? Which one do you see most often in daily life? Don't forget to like this video and drop a comment sharing your thoughts and subscribe for more.